I noticed something else wrong in here when I was working on the landing gear. It looks like something hit this, a piece of metal, could be a stick or something, you know, that like from a tree branch gets on a grass runway, flies up. It must have been pretty sharp because it put a hole in this seconite right here, a little tiny hole in there. So what I'm going to do is show you what you do if you get a hole in the seconite. It's pretty easy to fix. This doily here, I kind of mangled that when I was putting this cable in there, so I put a new doily on there, and that's what they call it, a doily. It's just a circle of seconite, and I'm going to take and try to fix this, patch this hole here, and show you how I do it. This is a piece of seconite. It's a fabric. I don't know if it's Dacron or nylon or what it is, but it's real strong. You can't break it. It looks like a handkerchief, but it's really strong stuff, and you can't tear it. Now you can glue it on there and then shrink it tight with an iron. They use just a regular clothing iron is how you shrink that fabric up. It'll make it tight as a drum. Probably shrinks about, I don't know, 20%, maybe more than that. So you can get the wrinkles out and stuff like that. But we're just going to glue a patch of this stuff on over that hole. I'm going to use some of this Henry's glue. It's a indoor-outdoor carpet cement. It's water-based, but it's very similar to the blue cement that they give you when you glue the seconite on it if you're using a water-based system, which means that you can clean this up with soap and water. If you get any on your hands before it dries, it's going to come off your hands with just soap and water. So this is Henry's glue 263, whatever that is. But it's thicker than the blue stuff that they sell you. The blue stuff is much easier to rub through the fabric, but this stuff's a bit thicker. Now this is my round patch I'm going to put on there. Now this is ultralight weight fabric here, but what's on the plane is actually aircraft grade fabric. It's heavier than this stuff, a little bit heavier than this. It's really strong, that stuff. There's my little doily, and I put the glue on there. Now I'm going to put it right on there, right over that hole, and just smooth it on there, that glue. Just using my fingers for that. Like I said, I can wash up with soap and water. You have to be down pretty low to even see this hole. I didn't notice it until I was working on that landing gear there. One coat of paint on here. A little bit more on there. Yeah, you'll hardly ever see this patch. You gotta be underneath looking at it to see it anyway. I didn't see I had any hole in it until I was working on that landing gear. I'm just using a little foam brush to go around there. And then the foam brush, you can just throw it away. Well, it looks pretty good. Pretty hard to tell where the patches are on there anyway. I think I got her fixed. If that had been an aluminum airplane, you'd had a dent there. That'd be a little bit more problem to fix. I want the prospective buyer of this plane to understand what you have to do in the spring. I usually do it in the spring, and also what I do in the fall to put it away. There's a little bit of traditional maintenance, let's say. One of the first things you have to do in the spring is to take these spark plugs out and clean them. And I'll do it right now because I'm going to run the engine anyway, but that's something you have to do because after sitting so long in the winter time, the oil will tend to run down and it ends up in the bottoms, or in the heads, or in the bottom of the engine. And actually it ends up on the spark plug. It just fills them up. I don't know if you can see it very well. I'll have to look in here myself to see what I'm looking at. It's pretty oily down inside that plug. It's a little hard to see down there. I don't know how close I can get it and still focus on it. But the oil will be laying in these plugs. As I take the plugs out and clean them and then put them right back in again once they're cleaned. Spark plugs last a long time if you clean them. You can kind of see the oil around here. I think you can anyway. You see how much that's coming out of there, and the black stuff coming out. You can see that oil in there. I hope you can. I wish I could get that focused good. Anyways, there's a lot of oil in there. Anyways, you can almost pour it out of there. But that has to be cleaned out first, but only after it sits all winter, because the oil drains into the plugs, and no sense trying to start it when you know it's not going to start when it's all full of stuff. These aren't actually as bad as they are sometimes. Sometimes there's a big puddle of oil, maybe even a drip that'll come out of there in my hand. A couple of spark plug wrenches here that I use for getting those plugs out. This one, you'll notice I turned it down on the end, so it's quite thin around here. But that's to help me get past a bracket that's under here that holds the muffler. And so I turned that one down. I'll give you that with the airplane because it's quite handy to get in there and get that plug out. I've got all 4 plugs out now, and I'm gonna clean that oil off those things, off the threads on the plug. You can use carburetor cleaner, or it's real oil that's in the spray can for cleaning that oil out of there. And if you do that, this thing will light right up. You won't have any trouble starting it in the spring. The back plug, I found you can use a short extension, like about a 3-inch extension, I suppose that is. I take this air filter off and wash it in a little bit of gasoline oil, just petrol like the engine runs on, and let it dry out real good. Make sure all the gasoline's out of the filter. It'll dry up if you set it in the sun or something. It don't take it too long to dry off. Always on these filters, make sure you don't get ones that have a metal cover. They'll have like a chrome cover. People will buy them because they think, ooh, that looks nice. But I've seen those metal covers come off, hit the prop, and bust a prop blade. That metal thing will just wrap around that prop blade, and boy, you talk about some shaking. And it can really destroy a blade on a prop. So don't use the ones that have the fancy cover on there because they're just glued on. And you'll notice these spark plugs, they may not look like the ones you're using, but these are the fine wire plugs. It's a platinum tip plug. It's called B8 EV. I don't know if you can read that on there, but that's what it is, a B8 EV. It's an NGK plug. They cost more than the normal NGKs, but they never foul. You can't foul one of these babies. But if you're using fine wire plugs like this one, you can see how small the center electrode is. It's just a little piece of platinum, I guess it is, sticking out there. Don't use one of these type gappers for the plug. This is one where you put the plug in and you put the right gap on there and then squeeze it. You can break that little fine wire. So I don't use those. I always just do it manually and get my gap right on that. I've got the spark plugs back in there, and I've labeled the cable lengths here so you know which one goes on which plug. So I just numbered the plugs from 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I wrote that on there with a paint pen, so that might help you from being confused. And these carburetors, it's a good time when you have the air filter off to check them to see if they're in sync or not. I see so many people with these planes and they're running a 2-cycle engine and they don't have the carb synced. And in fact, the one I took my flight test in, the guy had it only ran on 1 cylinder when it was idling. That's how misadjusted they were. So what you want to make sure of, you'll see the throttle slides going up and down in there and pulling that needle up and down. You want to make sure that the slides hit just the top of the carburetor, and they both should be even when they're at the top, and you can feel that with your finger. And you can set the throttle just right, and you can see that they're both feel exactly the same in there at the top of the stroke. And at the bottom where it's idling, you can check this opening here to see if it's the same. Some people stick a drill in there, and that helps them adjust the idle. The idle screw is set on the side. There's a big one here, and here's the other one. It's just a tapered screw that stops your slide when it comes down. And when you want to see if they're hitting this bottom, you can hear a click in there when they hit. That tells you that they're against the slide. Now you can adjust your cables up here, and if you remember what I just told you about cables, this is a ferrule and this is the adjuster here. You want to make sure that they go all the way down, and you hear that click. You hear that? Sounds like 2 aluminum hands clapping together. Well, you want to make sure it's going down against that throttle stop. These tubes here is the vent for the float bowls. After you clean the air filter, it's a good idea to safety wire the thing on there, since it's got places to do it. And to do that, you might want to get a pair of these safety wire pliers. They've got a little catch that holds the plier tight, and probably most people that fly know what these are and probably have seen them. I'm getting a little old and a little weak in the hands, so a little tired, hard to squeeze 2 wires and clamp them. Then once you get it twisted up like that, then you can cut off the excess and then bend this end around so nobody gets stuck with it while they're working on the airplane. There we go, all secure. You wouldn't want this air filter to come loose and go through your propeller. This is going to be my idea for a temporary. This is a gasoline can I have for doing this sort of thing I keep around here. It's got a shutoff valve at the bottom. It only holds a gallon of gas, but I want to run this temporarily, so I'm running a fuel hose up to my fuel filter, and then it'll go through the fuel pump here and into the carburetors. I do intend to run it.